The hum was wrong. It pulsed through Pinnacle Tech's labyrinth of glass and steel, a deep, uneven throb that didn't belong in a place obsessed with perfection. James Carter froze his mop, stilled, on the polished concrete of the research lab, his janitor's coveralls fading into the shadows. At 52, he'd spent 7 years invisible scrubbing floors, while engineers in pristine white coats chased breakthroughs they'd never grasp. But that hum, it was the ghost of Thunderbolt, an engine he'd designed in another life before betrayal, and a friend's death forced him to bury his brilliance. It was wrong, miscalibrated, screaming flaws only he could hear. James knew its secrets better than anyone, but silence was the price of keeping his daughter safe. Outside in the employee lot, 17-year-old Lily Carter hunched over a notebook in their battered Ford Taurus, her pencil carving a turbocharger schematic with surgical precision. Grease stained her fingers, a testament to years of rebuilding engines from scrap her father smuggled home. Lily wasn't just bright. She was a force filling 18 notebooks with designs that could humiliate Pinnacle's $10 million prototypes. She'd learned from James's late-night stories, from technical manuals he found in the trash, and from free online courses she devoured after homework. Their garage was her proving ground, where she turned rusted parts into solutions no PhD could match. Her latest sketch, an intercooler tweak for 15% better efficiency, felt like a rebellion against a world that ignored her. Pinnacle's research floor was a cathedral of innovation, robotic arms, whirring welding sparks, flashing like stars. High-performance engines lined the walls, each a monument to wealth and ego. James moved through it all, his mop erasing oil stains and failed experiments. He was less than furniture to the engineers, their jargon, quantum amplifiers, torque ratios flowing past as if he couldn't understand. But he did. His eyes caught what they missed, a cooling fin off by a hair-bleeding heat, an exhaust manifold strangling power. He'd been one of them 2 decades ago before Pinnacle's ruthlessness cost him everything. Now, he cataloged their mistakes in silence, a habit from a life where speaking up meant ruin. Lily, though, had no such restraint. In the car, she flipped to a new page, her pencil racing to refine a fuel injector layout. James slid into the driver's seat, his face etched with the weight of his shift, but softening at her focus. "Another world changer?" he asked, nodding at her notebook. "Dad, check this," Lily said, eyes alight. "Move the intercooler here, streamline the airflow. It's a 15% efficiency gain, maybe more." They're missing it, and it's so obvious. Her voice crackled with the urgency of someone who saw solutions where others saw walls. Her sketch is a map of a future she refused to let slip away. James turned the key, the engine coughing to life. His jaw tightened. "Lily, we've been over this. They don't pay me to think, and they sure don't want a janitor's daughter telling them how to build engines." His words were firm, laced with the pain of a man who'd seen truth-tellers crushed. He'd taken this job to protect her, to give her a shot at a life he'd lost. But Lily's brilliance was a wildfire, and he couldn't smother it. She closed her notebook undeterred. "You see it too, Dad. You always have. Why else do you point out their mistakes when we're working in the garage?" Her words cut deep, a reminder of the evenings they'd spent rebuilding carburetors, his lessons slipping out despite himself. James had watched Pinnacle's engineers fumble for years, their arrogance blinding them to fixes he'd known since his drafting days. But silence was survival, a lesson he prayed she'd never learn. The next morning, Pinnacle buzzed with a restless energy. Whispers spread of a high-stakes showcase where CEO Ethan Marshall would unveil Thunderbolt to investors and military contractors. The engine, 2 years and $12 million in the making, promised power no civilian vehicle could touch, a game changer if it worked. James arrived early, cleaning restricted zones before they'd be sealed for VIPs. He moved with practiced efficiency, but the hum followed him uneven and grating a torque flaw he could fix in his sleep. He pushed it down, focusing on his mop, but it lingered like a warning. Lily arrived later, her backpack heavy with tools and her latest notebook. James had told her to wait by his locker, not the car, with the showcase bringing extra scrutiny. She lingered in the employee corridor, but the hum reached her, a puzzle begging to be solved. It was wrong, off-balance, inefficient, and she knew why. Her father's badge, lifted from his locker, swiped her through a security checkpoint. Pinnacle's nighttime protocols were lax, a corporate oversight born of arrogance. Curiosity overruled caution. She followed the sound to a door marked "Authorized Access Only," her pulse racing. The badge worked, the door clicked open, and she stepped into a lab that stole her breath. The Thunderbolt engine loomed, a titanium beast, riddled with flaws she could name fuel lines, misrouted cooling arrays fighting themselves. Her notebook came out, pencil flying, as she began to rewrite its future. Lily Carter stood frozen in the cavernous lab, her notebook trembling in her hands as the Thunderbolt engine's hum filled the air. The machine was a marvel, titanium housings, copper tubes, snaking like veins, but it was broken deliberately so. Fuel lines twisted into pressure traps, cooling arrays misaligned to hoard heat. She'd snuck in with her father's badge, exploiting Pinnacle Tech's lax nighttime security. But now footsteps echoed behind her. She spun, heart-pounding, to face a room filling with suits and polished shoes. At the center stood Ethan Marshall, Pinnacle's CEO, his voice booming with rehearsed charm. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the future of automotive engineering." The showcase had begun, and Lily was trapped. Ethan's eyes locked onto her, a predator sensing prey. "What's this?" he said, his smile sharp. "A janitor's kid playing engineer." The crowd, investors, military contractors, murmured their amusement, stinging like a slap. Lily's cheeks burned, but her gaze flicked to the engine. She couldn't stay silent. "Your torque distribution's backward," she muttered, just loud enough. "It'll fail under load." The room went still. Ethan's smile faltered, then hardened into something dangerous. "Excuse me," he said, stepping closer. "You're telling me my $12 million engine is wrong?" His tone dripped with mockery, but Lily saw the flicker in his eyes. Anger, yes, but also desperation. Thunderbolt was bleeding money, its failures a secret he'd buried under bravado. Her words were a spark in a room full of gasoline. "I'm saying it's inefficient," Lily replied, lifting her chin. "The drivetrain's misconfigured. It's losing power and risking burnout." Her voice steadied years of garage work with James backing her up. She'd rebuilt engines from scrap, studied Pinnacle's discarded schematics, and outthought their PhDs in her notebooks. She knew she was right. Ethan laughed, a sound that didn't reach his eyes. He saw an opportunity not just to crush her, but to distract from Thunderbolt's flaws. "Well, this is rich," he said, turning to the crowd. "A teenager thinks she can outsmart our Ivy League team." The laughter spread, but Ethan wasn't done. "Let's make it interesting. Fix this engine, kid. 7 days. If you pull it off, something my engineers haven't, I'll fund your college full ride anywhere you want." He paused, letting the bait dangle. "But if you fail, you apologize publicly for wasting our time. Deal." The crowd leaned in, sensing blood. Lily's mind raced. It was a trap designed to humiliate her, to reinforce Pinnacle's hierarchy. But she also saw the engine's flaws as clearly as a map. She'd spent years learning from James, from manuals, from online courses no one knew she took. This was her shot, not just to prove herself, but to show what happened when Pinnacle underestimated the wrong person. "I accept," she said, her voice clear. Ethan's grin widened predatory. Excellent. Facilities will arrange access. Let's see what the janitor's daughter can do. The crowd dispersed, buzzing with excitement over the unexpected drama. Lily stayed by the engine, its hum now a challenge she couldn't ignore. James appeared at the lab's edge, his face pale. He'd been cleaning a spill when he overheard security chatter about Lily's intrusion. Pushing through the crowd, he reached her, his voice low. "Lily, what have you done?" His eyes held fear, not for his job, but for her. He knew Ethan's game. Public dares were how Pinnacle crushed upstarts. He'd seen it before when he was an engineer before a friend's death, and corporate threats forced him into silence. "I had to," Dad Lily said, meeting his gaze. "They're wrong about the engine, and I can fix it. I can show them we're not invisible." Her determination mirrored his own years ago before he learned to hide. It broke his heart and lit it up all at once. "You don't know what you're walking into." James said softer now. "These people don't play fair." But he saw the fire in her eyes, the same fire that had kept him teaching her in their garage, slipping her parts and schematics. He couldn't stop her, not now. That night, Lily returned to Pinnacle using James's badge to slip past the checkpoint. The lab was empty, the engine waiting under harsh fluorescent lights. She pulled out her tools, salvaged wrenches, a 3D printed gauge from her school's makerspace, and began her inspection. The sabotage was worse than she'd thought. Sensors were disconnected wires hidden to mask their absence. Someone had wanted Thunderbolt to fail, but why, she sketched every flaw, filling pages with notes that pointed to something darker than incompetence. As dawn crept through the lab's windows, Lily paused her flashlight, catching a faint engraving on the engine's core. Thunderbolt DoD Contract 47X, Department of Defense. This wasn't just an engine, it was a weapon, and she'd just bet her future on exposing its secrets. She didn't hear the soft click of a camera capturing her work or see the shadow slipping away to report to Ethan. The dare was no longer just a game. Lily Carter worked in the dead of night, her flashlight cutting through the gloom of Pinnacle Tech's experimental lab. The Thunderbolt engine loomed before her, its sabotaged components, a puzzle she was unraveling piece by piece. Using her father's badge to slip past security, she'd spent 3 nights documenting flaws, disconnected sensors, rerouted cooling lines, a torque system designed to fail. Her notebook brimmed with sketches, each one pointing to sabotage, so deliberate it felt like a crime. The engraved DoD Contract 47X on the engine's core haunted her. This wasn't just a corporate failure, it was a cover-up, and she was racing Ethan Marshall's 7-day dare to expose it. A shadow moved in the observation deck above. Lily's wrench clattered to the floor, her pulse spiking. "Who's there?" she called, gripping her flashlight like a weapon. A figure stepped into the light, Nathan Patel, Pinnacle's lead engineer, his face a mix of curiosity and caution. "Relax, kid," he said, descending the stairs. "I'm not here to bust you." At 34, Nathan was a rare breed at Pinnacle, brilliant but disillusioned, staying late to chase real innovation while others played corporate games. He'd noticed Lily's unauthorized logins and watched her work, impressed by her precision. "You shouldn't be here," Lily said, defensive. "I'm not stealing anything. I'm fixing what they broke." Nathan studied her makeshift workstation, salvaged gauges, 3D printed tools, pages of thermodynamic calculations. "I know," he said. "Your heat transfer analysis is better than half my team's. Walk me through it." For an hour, he grilled her, testing her grasp of pressure dynamics and fuel compression. Lily answered with the clarity of someone who'd rebuilt engines in her garage, her analogies drawn from years of hands-on work with James. Nathan handed her a microcontroller. "Use this for pressure feedback," he said. and the night guard's camera resets at 1 a.m. You've got a 15-minute window to move anything heavy. He left without another word, an ally where she'd expected an enemy. The next evening, a new figure emerged from the shadows, Sophie Marshall, Ethan's 28-year-old daughter. She'd distanced herself from Pinnacle, funneling her trust fund into tech nonprofits. But Lily's defiance at the showcase had struck a chord. "I've been watching you," Sophie said, her voice low. "You're not just fixing an engine. You're digging into something my father's desperate to hide." As a major shareholder, Sophie had legal access to Pinnacle's archives, but her stealth sneaking into Ethan's home office kept her off his radar. She'd found shipping manifests for classified quantum amplifiers, tech no civilian lab should have. Lily hesitated, then showed Sophie her notebook. "Someone sabotaged Thunderbolt. It's not incompetence, it's intentional. And this DoD contract, it's military, isn't it?" Sophie nodded grimly. "It's called Thunderbolt, a drone engine project from 7 years ago. It was shut down after an accident, but I think it was covered up." James joined them, his reluctance giving way to Lily's urgency. He'd avoided the lab fearing for his job, but her discoveries demanded his expertise. "I worked on Thunderbolt," he admitted, his voice heavy, "before I became a janitor. My friend Michael Reed died in a test explosion. They called it equipment failure. But Michael was asking questions why we were building drone engines with military-grade tech, who was really funding it." He pulled out a faded photo of him and Michael beside a prototype, its design eerily similar to Lily's engine. 3 days after he spoke up, he was dead. The pieces clicked. Thunderbolt wasn't cancelled because it failed, it was buried because it worked too well. Sophie showed them a photo from Ethan's office contracts timelines and a name, General Hawthorne. "My father's been meeting with military types," she said. "They're scared you're getting close." The quantum amplifiers, Sophie explained, were classified tech illegal in civilian hands. Their presence in Thunderbolt meant Pinnacle was breaking federal law, and Michael's death was no accident. It was murder to silence him. "We need to talk somewhere safer," Sophie said, glancing at the lab's cameras. "There's a diner 10 minutes away, no surveillance." At Murphy's all-night diner over bitter coffee, they pieced together the conspiracy. Lily's challenge had become a threat to a network of corruption tying Pinnacle to rogue government players. "They killed Michael to protect this," James said, his voice cracking. "And now, you're in their crosshairs, Lily." Sophie leaned forward. "Do you know what you're really fixing?" Her question hung heavy, a warning that their fight was no longer just about proving Lily's skill. It was about exposing a truth that could bring down Pinnacle and those shielding it. As they left the diner, none noticed the black sedan idling across the street, its driver noting their every move. "Thank you for the enthusiasm. I'm glad you're loving the story." I'll now proceed with Segment 4, The Race Against Time, targeting approximately 800 words written in English, with the voice of a seasoned American storyteller. The segment will continue using the new American character names James and Lily Carter, Ethan Marshall, Nathan Patel, Sophie Marshall, etc. Address logical issues, e.g. realistic logistics for moving the engine, justifying Sophie's risky theft, ensuring credible threats, and escalate the stakes from Segment 3, Uncovering the Conspiracy. I'll deliver the segment below and wait for your approval before moving to Segment 5, The Reckoning and Legacy. The warehouse smelled of old iron and defiance, its dusty corners lit by jury-rigged floodlights. Lily Carter tightened a bolt on the Thunderbolt engine's core, her hands steady despite the weight of what they'd uncovered. 5 days into Ethan Marshall's 7-day dare, she, James Nathan Patel, and Sophie Marshall had relocated their work to this abandoned welding bay, a tech incubator off Pinnacle Tech's grid. The engine pieced together from salvaged parts, and ingenuity was their proof, a weapon against a conspiracy tying Pinnacle to illegal military tech and murder. But time was slipping away, and the Pinnacle Tech showroom, their chance to expose the truth, was 2 days off. So were the black SUVs now circling outside. They'd moved the engine in a desperate bid for secrecy after Lily's nighttime lab sessions revealed Pinnacle's tightening surveillance. Sophie's warning at the diner had been clear. Ethan and his military allies, led by General Morrison, knew Lily was close to making Thunderbolt work. Nathan fired after Ethan traced his badge to lab access logs, had been labeled a traitor, his career torched with accusations of espionage. They're not just watching, Nathan said, scanning security feeds on a laptop. They're planning something. His termination freed him to act, and he'd hacked Pinnacle's network, buying them time with fake access logs. The warehouse was Sophie's find, secured through her nonprofit's connections. Its industrial bones, rusted welders, forgotten machine tools were perfect for their makeshift lab. They'd stripped Thunderbolt's sabotaged components, rebuilding it with parts James had hoarded from Pinnacle's scrap prototypes. Nathan flagged as viable and custom fittings Lily machined at her school's makerspace. The quantum dampeners, the key, Lily said, adjusting a salvage transformer to stabilize power flow. Without it, the amplifier goes unstable boom, like what killed Michael Reed. Her voice caught Michael's death, a shadow driving her forward. James worked beside her, his hands steady as he wired a sensor array. Years of suppressed engineering poured out his solutions, elegant despite the chaos. This transformer's old, he said, but it'll hold the load. Lily saw her father anew, not the janitor, but the engineer who'd taught her to see engines as puzzles. Their bond, forged in their garage, was now a lifeline against Pinnacle's threats. Sophie, meanwhile, took the biggest risk. The original quantum dampener, critical for Thunderbolt's stability, was locked in Pinnacle's secure archive. As a shareholder, she had legal access, but retrieving it meant walking into Ethan's domain. "I can get in during the day shift," she said, mapping the plan. "Crowds, chaos, they won't notice me." James monitored security radios from his janitor's station, ready to signal trouble. Nathan prepped a network distraction, a false alarm to slow pursuit. The heist nearly failed. Sophie slipped into the archive, her equipment bag hiding the dampener's classified markings. She was steps from the exit when Dr. Gavin Reese, Ethan's loyal deputy, blocked her path with 2 unfamiliar guards. Miss Marshall Reese said, his smile cold. "We need to check your bag. Security concerns." Sophie's heart pounded. The dampener would expose everything. But a fire alarm blared, triggered by James, who'd overheard guard chatter about her detention. In the evacuation's chaos, Sophie slipped away, meeting Nathan in the lot with the prize. Back at the warehouse, they installed the dampener, Lily's hands trembling with exhaustion and hope. The engine was nearly complete, a fusion of military tech and their relentless creativity. But the showroom loomed, and Ethan wasn't waiting. Security tightened around Lily, her temporary badge now restricted to the lab's route, her notebook photographed by unseen eyes. "They know we're close," Sophie said, her voice tense. "My father's been on calls with Morrison. They mentioned containment." A new ally emerged, Detective Rachel Brooks, who'd been investigating Michael Reed's death. Reassigned under pressure, she'd continued off the books, tipped off by an anonymous email, Nathan's work containing Thunderbolt's sabotage logs. Meeting them at the warehouse, she studied Lily's notes. "This is murder, not an accident," Rachel said. "But my bosses are stonewalling. Someone high-up's protecting Pinnacle." Her presence grounded their fight, her badge, a shield against the growing threat. The moment of truth came that night. Lily engaged Thunderbolt's ignition, the warehouse vibrating as the engine roared to life. For 3 minutes, it ran flawlessly, digital readouts, surpassing the original DoD specs. "We did it," Lily whispered, her voice breaking. James squeezed her shoulder, pride outweighing fear. But headlights pierced the windows, black SUVs, tactical teams fanning out. "They found us," Nathan said, checking the exits. Lily's mind raced. "The showroom's tomorrow. If we get Thunderbolt there, we show the world what they're hiding." Sophie scanned the warehouse's layout. South loading dock, there's a rail tunnel. We move the engine to a truck, we might make it. They hauled the machine to a flatbed left by the warehouse's former tenants, desperation fueling their strength. As they prepped to flee, James turned to Lily. "Whatever happens, you've made me prouder than I ever thought possible." Lily met his gaze. "We're not done, Dad. We're just starting." The Pinnacle Tech showroom transformed the city's convention center into a dazzling stage, its towering displays of concept cars and cutting-edge tech buzzing with anticipation. Ethan Marshall stood at the heart of it, his keynote speech primed to unveil a fake Thunderbolt engine as proof of Pinnacle's dominance. Investors, military brass, and media swarmed, unaware that Lily Carter and her team, James Nathan Patel, Sophie, and Detective Rachel Brooks, were racing through a tunnel with the real engine, their flatbed truck rattling toward a truth that would rewrite everything. The black SUVs had nearly caught them at the warehouse, but Sophie's rail tunnel gambit had bought them this last chance. Inside, Ethan gestured to a gleaming mock-up on stage, its theatrical hum pre-recorded to deceive. "Today, Pinnacle Tech redefines automotive engineering," he declared, voice booming. But the script shattered when Sophie strode from the wings, her presence electrifying the crowd. "Before my father continues," she said, seizing the mic, "you need to know the truth about this engine." Ethan's face reddened. "Security," he barked, but Rachel Brooks stepped forward, badge raised, a federal warrant in hand. "This presentation's part of a criminal investigation," she announced. "Miss Marshall has evidence." The auditorium erupted in murmurs. Sophie had planned this for weeks, tipping off reporters and allies to ensure public eyes. Rachel's authority, backed by evidence Nathan had funneled to her task force sabotage logs, illegal payments, froze Pinnacle's security. Sophie activated the screens displaying damning files. Ethan's emails ordering Thunderbolt's cover-up payoffs to General Morrison, proof the mock-up was a fraud. "Pinnacle's lied for years," she said. "But the real engine works because of someone they tried to break." The doors swung wide, and Lily entered James and Nathan wheeling in their rough-hewn Thunderbolt. It lacked the fake's polish, but its authenticity silenced the room. "I'm Lily Carter," she said, stepping to the mic. "I'm 17, and I built this with my team, not Pinnacle." Ethan scoffed, desperate. "This is a stunt. She's unqualified." But Lily ignored him, her hands steady as she started the engine. It roared a deep, genuine pulse that dwarfed Ethan's charade. Displays lit up metrics surpassing DoD specs, power efficiency, stability. The crowd gasped, phones recording. Dr. Renee tried to shut it down, shouting, "It's unstable," but Sophie blocked him. "The only instability is your sabotage," she snapped, "like when you killed Michael Reed." The accusation, backed by Nathan's data showing the 2013 explosion, was murder triggered the auditorium's lockdown, trapping Ethan's allies. Nathan looped the evidence on every screen, financial trails, military contracts, proof of a conspiracy that cost lives to hide Thunderbolt's illegal tech. "This is what Pinnacle buried," Lily said, her voice carrying over the engine's roar. "Innovation belongs to those who solve problems, not those who lie." Federal agents, coordinated by Rachel, moved in as the lockdown lifted. Ethan and Reese were cuffed, their conspiracy unraveling before a global audience. The footage went viral, and her Thunderbolt truth trending as Lily's engine outshone Ethan's fraud. News outlets hailed her as a prodigy exposing corporate corruption, sparking debates on STEM access and ethics. 5 years later, Lily stood in her Spark Vibe lab, once that same warehouse, now a hub for revolutionary engines. At 22, she'd turned down MIT and Tesla to launch Spark Vibe, building affordable, efficient tech for underserved communities, irrigation systems in Africa, emergency vehicles in rural America. Her quantum amplifier, refined from Thunderbolt, powered a solar race car that shattered speed records at Bonneville, hitting 280 mph. "We're not chasing profits," she told reporters. "We're solving problems." James and Nathan ran the Reed Institute, honoring Michael with hands-on training for diverse engineers. "We teach why we build, not just how," James said at its opening, his janitor days a distant memory. Sophie transformed Pinnacle into a B Corp, its transparent, sustainable mission a rebuke to Ethan's greed. Rachel led the FBI's tech crime unit, her Pinnacle case a blueprint for prosecuting corporate fraud. Ethan served 25 years, his empire seized. Reese's prison death underscored the conspiracy's toll. But Lily's legacy shone brighter. The Smithsonian displayed her Thunderbolt, its placard, quoting, "Her innovation belongs to anyone who dares to solve what others abandon." Spark Vibe's annual challenge drew young engineers worldwide like 14-year-old Maya Lopez, whose water purifier echoed Lily's vision. "You're already an engineer," Lily told her, seeing her younger self. As Lily watched Maya's team celebrate, she reflected on her journey from a dare to a revolution. Spark Vibe's flying vehicle prototype, quantum-powered, awaited testing outside. "Think Thunderbolt was hard," she said to Michael Reed's brother, now her partner. "Wait till we change the sky." The future wasn't just tech, it was the courage to build it for everyone.